Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the XForceGlobal channel. Thank you very much for joining me here today. Hope you're all having a fantastic week. Today, we're back with another Bitcoin analysis, and I'm here to make sure to update the price action from our prior videos and see how we can go forward with the updated Elliott wave counts. Now, we are still working with the same narrative. We're just looking for a possible move to the upside in 5 waves for a larger fifth wave to be completed, because we are, just to quickly recap, expecting this to be of completed wave 3, 4 of the larger degree, and this move up as a 5-wave move is the beginning of our wave 1, and this is a very clean looking 5-wave move. And we can also say that the wave 5 has terminated here, and we can put our origin of wave 1 here, and we're working for this move and utilizing this range here as a sideways wave 2 that can be completed or deemed complete rather. And we're just still working with the narrative, whether we're going to be working for a possible deeper retracement or whether this move here is going to be deemed complete. Now, doesn't really matter, because the overall macro perspective is that we're still looking for further upside. And I think that this slow range here that we're having here is extremely healthy, unless we do get a sharp pullback to the downside. And even then, at these levels over here at the 53 to 54, albeit it'll be a little bit more pain in the short term, I do believe that this level is still highly liquid for longs to be initiated. Then we'll eventually continue to the upside, because we do have a possible channeling being built here as well. But for the time being, we want to keep with the narrative and stick with it, because this 1-2 is what we are going to be focusing on. Now, our first idea here is that we do have a clean 5-wave move, like I have mentioned, and this wave 1 would be the origin, and we are now looking for a possible WXY to be completed, or we're looking for a possible move, one more move to the downside to at least meet that 1618 level. But we did hit that 101 level, where this wave W is equal to the length of wave Y. And that is usually the common target of a 101 extension, where you use the Fibic trend extension tool to measure this, and then you use the origin of wave X to this level here, and that is how you get that same equality. And as an Elliottician, you want to be looking for equality within the waves utilizing Fibonacci. So this move here does look relatively clean. I did not expect this sharp move, but that did help us create that swift movement to the downside to at least create some kind of first leg of a hybrid scenario, of any scenario rather, because we do have all scenarios kind of lining up and coiling up for a possible relief rally, at least to fill this void to hit the 618 level, or the golden zone rather, to see if we're going to be getting a rejection at those levels or not. Now, for this scenario specifically, this 1-2, I would rather have this complete now, since we did hit the 101 extension and we did get a pretty strong price reaction off of here. If you're not following me on social media, we did talk about the adjustments in between this video and the previous video, and this idea is also still remaining true to it, and we are still seeing this price action develop. But the first real initial bounce that we had was within today. And whether this is going to be continuing or not, we're still looking for a 5-wave move up for the smallest degree of a wave 1 and then a wave 2 to kind of see how this data plays out. And if this level holds, we're going to be expecting further upside. If this level breaks, expect some kind of 1618 Fibonacci extension, because that is the next common target for a wave A or W in relation to the wave C or Y that we have here. And that 1618 target is also another very common target, actually, where we can get another initial price reaction off of those lows here. So this is the first scenario. Again, we're still just working with a swift retracement here. We do have a pretty nice channeling here for this wave W and X, and any moment from now could be either the bounce or some kind of move here where we get rejected for the bears. Actually, we'll see a small initial bounce here, meeting at the end of this bottom of this channel for this wave 2. So that's the first idea. And again, just a small note that I wrote here, wave X, this wave X here of this intermediate degree, is that the first target is the 38.2% that we did hit. Second common target is the 50%, and then the third common target is the 61.8%. But we did hit the 70% in terms of the retracement of this wave W. So that makes this scenario a little bit less probable. However, we did get a swift retracement, which is giving me a little bit more confidence that this WXY scenario could also be a possibility. So kudos to the bears, because this idea of a retracement in terms of a sharp retracement, and it's helping us build even a better bullish narrative. So thank you. And the next idea is on the idea that we do have a completed wave 2. Now we are utilizing this range here, or this move up, as the 5 wave, and we have this as the beginning or origin of wave 1. We have a 3-way move into a wave A, and then we have a 3-way move into a B, and then we're looking for a diagonal here now, which is going to be the ending diagonal variation. Now it can come down and retest this move one more time for this diagonal here, and then we would eventually get a move up. But this ending diagonal is more bullish than the third scenario that I'll be discussing, which is the leading diagonal, because this idea can originate into a leading diagonal. If we put the wave 1 here, right here, then we can say that this idea is more bullish, because this now is deemed as the completed wave 1, 2, just like the WXY scenario. Now for this idea, we don't want to see this idea go deeper for this level here, although we can reach the 2618 level. However, for this idea as a flat, I would like to see this move completed, because we do have a pretty textbook setup in terms of the most commonalities and expectations of how this 1, 2 could be completed as a sideways movement. And that sideways movement, as again, is a 3, 3, 5, where we have a 3, 3, 5 idea. But for this ending diagonal idea, we can fit it in. We are mixing the subwaves of actionary and reactionary waves, and for this idea we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it looks pretty darn clean, and we did meet that 1618 level as well. And we're looking for further upside, and this would be ultimately be the most bullish scenario of all 3 scenarios that I'm going to be discussing. But again, this does look pretty relatively clean for a flat. It is pretty textbook, and in that regard, I think that this is going to be the final 5th subwave that we're working on for one more downside, or this is going to be a completed move, and we're looking for a breakout out of this trend line here, and then we're looking for a clean 5-way move, like I've said, another 1, 2 pullback, and that can be the ultimate confirmation for further upside. And hopefully that will be the conclusion of some kind of larger range that we're having here, and we're finally ready to move up, and some kind of breakout momentum is expected to happen. So this idea is ultimately the most bullish scenario. That's our second idea. And then now the final idea is kind of utilizing both time and depth, as I've mentioned. Instead of utilizing this diagonal as the ending diagonal of some kind of sideways range, again, we're utilizing this 5-way move up, just like we had for that WXY scenario, into a wave 1, and now we're looking for this diagonal to play out. We did get that confirmation. I mentioned this on my social media. Again, we're now looking for a breakout of this move here, and then I did mention if we do get rejected at the golden zone, possibly at the 618, which is going to be the most common rejection zone, is that this B wave is going to be rejected. And then we'd expect another 5-way move down for a C, which would be completing a larger ABC into that deeper golden zone of that 618 or the 786 zone. And then we're going to be expecting a larger move to the upside. Now, this idea is more of the rational approach. We're still expecting a larger move to the upside, but this should be pertaining to more of the swing traders or the smaller micro time frame traders. To the people who are accumulating on spot, I don't think this scenario is really going to be any of a difference anyways, because we're looking for eventual move to the upside. Again, diagonal is going to be in the form of a leading diagonal. The only difference between a leading and ending diagonal in this scenario is that we do have everything set up perfectly in terms of even no truncation happening for a wave 5. And remember, a leading diagonal cannot have a truncation. Please do remember this, and we do not have that, so we got that confirmation as shown in red, and we're looking for another ABC to the upside, which is going to be the hybrid idea, like I've said, just like that scenario for that diagonal as we have here. As you can see, that 1, 2, we're looking for a similar idea of a 1, 2, 3, or this ABC where it gets stopped out. And maybe if we do get equality and we get some small, rejections along the way, that can give us a little bit more confidence that this may be a 3-wave. But if we do break out on volume, this is definitely going to be a 3rd wave. Then we can go back and utilize this as the finished move and say that we're going to be working for a wave 3 rather than an ABC like we have for that leading diagonal diagonal because we're expecting a wave B to be only 3 waves. So it's ultimately going to be deciding between how these major Fibonacci levels are going to be rejected or not. And that's something that we cannot predict. That's just how the markets are going to be working out. But we can find clues, especially on wave Cs, not just based on volume, but also based on the RSI divergences or momentum divergences on the MACD and the RSI. If we find any divergence momentum indicator indicating any slowdown in the volume and the momentum between waves 3 and 5 for this wave C on the micro time frames, we can assume that the conclusion is going to be happening for a wave B, especially if it's closer to the Fibonacci levels. And then we'll get a rejection, come back down one more time in anticipation to see how this overall 618 Fibonacci level between this level and this level here, we're going to see this level at least without a doubt 100%. We're going to get at least some kind of price reaction. If not a price reaction at the 786, and then we're expecting this move to the upside. And that in totality, ladies and gentlemen, will be the larger time plus depth of a correction for this 1-2. Any further down, going to be a completely different scenario. I do have those ideas shared on my members only group. For now, we're going to focus on only the 1-2 idea because that is the overall narrative. Now, to recap quickly, again, we're just focusing on only 3 scenarios here for 1-2 completion. Anything out of that realm, we're going to have to talk about it later once we start breaking these major levels. I don't want to overcomplicate it. We just want to talk about how the steps of creating a 1-2 idea is the best way. So with that being said, wave 3-4 completion is my main bias and kind of narrative that I would like to work upon. And this here is now a completed trend to the upside as an impulse, or the impulse could be ending here. If we're seeing the origin of wave 1 here and then that sideways move, then we're looking for overall expectation to the upside because no major invalidation has occurred. We were still expecting these levels to at least get retested, at least these levels here as well. So we're expecting larger move to the upside. And I think that's the only way we can kind of conclude this, ladies and gentlemen. I don't see any other way we can see this. I have exhausted the idea that we're working in a possible WXY scenario, especially this being a flat. I don't like this idea even being going into a diagonal of a wave 1 and then 2, 3, 4, 5. I think it would go deeper than that. I think this would be a rather 1-2 of a different type of bearish scenario. Again, this could be developing into something else, just that we don't know how it's going to be developing. Could be a triangle, could be a new flat being built, but again, that would be most definitely evolving into something else, and that would most likely be bearish in my opinion. Even if we do retest these levels, I do think that we will be creating some kind of channel on the macro. We'll be going from further upside if we do hit that 50K level for liquidity. So hopefully that was helpful. We have 3 scenarios again, ladies and gentlemen. That ending diagonal of a wave C for this 1-2 sideways. It does have its pros and cons again. The only con to it is utilizing this move here as a 5-wave move into a wave 1. But this move here does have the best look as a sideways move. Or if you're not a fan of that being completed, we can also have this utilization of the 5-wave into this wave 1 here. This could be the leading diagonal, and then we're working for a deeper correction for wave B, ABC, completion for a wave 2 to meet that golden zone. And then we're off, and then we have that deeper 1-2 idea for this being complete as well, which is just as likely to go up, just like we have that idea for this 1-2 being finished. I'd rather just have the sideways scenario. It's leading us to the same levels anyway. I'm not even sure why I'm sharing this. So yeah, everything's leading to the upside, ladies and gentlemen. For me personally, I'm not here to, say it's going to happen. I'm just here to lay out my personal convictions. Personal ideas are just personal ideas. Use it to your advantage to help build your thesis. If it's something that you like to trade against, absolutely fine. Nothing wrong with being a bear. But for now, I will transition to a bear if some kind of red flag does appear. But for the time being, I still think we're in a larger range of some sort. And being supported here, classic technical and analyst people, you're seeing a reverse head and shoulders here. So that's something to keep in mind. Momentum indicators are still showing as neutrality. We're really not seeing any kind of bearish move for the time being until we do really get some kind of volume. So far, this past week or so was just met with overlaps. And still, overlaps to me is a sign of still some kind of continuation idea that we're working in some kind of correction. And again, a correction is going to be eventually met with some kind of actionary wave to the upside, which is going to be a wave 3. So that's just how I'm combining a lot of my market psychology along with what market sentiment is also up seeing. And again, Elliott wave theory is just putting together the pieces for a puzzle of market observations, and then you build that narration there and make your conviction on that. Instead of having 15,000 different scenarios, I think those 3 scenarios are the best to work upon. But for me, if I had to personalize it, I would say a 1-2 is the best idea, because it does utilize all the hybrid scenarios of a diagonal like we had there, this also WXY, ending something here. But again, the only downside is this being a 5-way move is that, but it's okay. I think this idea can still be utilized as a range. Otherwise, I think this is the next possible scenario where we're going to be meeting that one more time. And I do like the idea that we would like to retest the 618 Fibonacci zone. So no harm in that as well. If we go a little bit deeper, now in this diagonal doesn't even play out, then we can extend the C wave essentially, and that would be our last resort, and that would be a failed diagonal that would kind of fail. I'm sure a lot of other people are seeing a diagonal here, and that's good. I think if we're all seeing the same diagonal, kudos to you. But again, I think that this diagonal fits better than what we originally had anticipated of a possible expanding diagonal, where this was considered the expanding diagonal. It's valid still because we still have a possible WXY here, or an ABC. But again, I think this contracting look is a little bit better. So please utilize this scenario however you wish. Thank you very much. I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a fantastic week. Bye bye.